Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today you're watching your horoscope for the new moon in Virgo, which occurs on Thursday, September 14th, 2023 at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time or 6:39 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon in Virgo is that we are trying to step into a new way of thinking about life and a new way of working or behaving in which we rest and relax more, honor more of our emotions, are more creative and compassionate here, and in which we're more confident in ourselves and use more of what we currently have instead of thinking we need all this other stuff here. But we're struggling to do that and struggling to do that because of fear, because of old behaviors dying hard, and maybe even too because of some unexpected events, especially financially, that may come up, setting us back. That could be a little bit of a challenge that we're going to have to deal with here. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please stay tuned because I'm going to hop into it right now. In order to get started, what I like to do first is to just place on the chart what it is that we are referring to here in this video so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is, of course, for the new moon in Virgo. Because of that, I have adjusted my chart accordingly to the exact time, or close to the exact time here of that new moon. I know that because I see the sun and the moon here in the exact same degree, the exact same sign here, which is Virgo. And when you have the sun and the moon, same degree, same sign, that is, of course, what is considered a new moon here, as you can see it. Okay, what is that all about? Well, new moons, like in a broad sense, well, new moons are all about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts because they are the first phase here of a new lunar cycle or a new lunar month. Okay. So we're experiencing that in some sort of way. What kind of new beginning, a new energy or fresh start are we experiencing? Virgo, because that's the sign that both the sun and the moon are in. Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign, so it has a lot to do with our mindset and our perspective, the way that we think and talk. So that's one of the things that we're getting a new beginning in, a new way of thinking, a new way of communicating, a new mindset, a new perspective on life. Okay, not only that, but Virgo as well, being an earth sign here, also has to do with our behaviors in a lot of ways, especially on daily life, how we go about day to day here, which can just be your habits and routines that you do, you do errands, you go to the store, you clean up, or could also be related to your job and how you do work as well here, which Virgo also correlates to. So not only are we getting a new beginning here in the way we think and communicate and our perspective, I think, to be a bit different and more fresh, but we're getting a new way of working at our job or just behaving in general, new habits and new routines here as well that I think is going on here too. Not only that, but I should also note as well, maybe just another side thought, is that Virgo also has to do with fixing things or healing things. And in particular, it does have to do with more of healing the body, being an earth sign here as well. So this could also be a sign that some of you here are getting new ways of fixing things in your life, or of healing your body, or of working with health issues here as well, or some kind of new perspective on how to do that too. That could be happening. Okay. And I think that's all that's coming to me here for the time being about these main themes here of this new moon in Virgo. Now, before I move forward in time to explain more specifically now how that will play out, I do like to go backwards in time quite a bit for those of you who have been following me for a while before I move forwards. And I do like to go backwards in time to give you more of the context about how we got here and why these themes are now coming up to be felt, lived through here, and experienced. Because I do believe that the context can actually change a lot of things in my interpretation here and give more detail and color to it. So we're going to do that. If you don't want to hear this point, since it can get kind of long, you can of course skip ahead in the video. I usually include timestamps here for you to do that in chapters. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dive in order to get started here with the context. I do like to go back to a very significant alignment, in my opinion, that did happen in between January to April of 2020. We're going back a few years. At that time, we had Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn make a conjunction here towards the middle to later degrees of the sign of Capricorn. Now, this is a very rare and challenging alignment, very rare because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years, and not always with Jupiter there. Okay, so that's what makes it rare and uncomfortable here, because Saturn and Pluto are both malefic planets, which means they just tend to be a little bit more challenging than some of the others. And also too, because Jupiter was involved in Capricorn, a sign it doesn't really like to be in and doesn't really function that well in either. So that didn't really help that much. Okay, what is the rare challenge that we had there at that time? Well, Saturn and Capricorn, which are both correlated, are about the structure of our lives. Here, Pluto can be a challenge, indicating that there's something about the structure of our lives that we don't like or feel uncomfortable with and need to, keyword, make permanent change, really to overcome, especially that may have existed for 35 years prior to that point here. And Jupiter can expand that, making that change even bigger or maybe even more difficult, with Jupiter not liking to be in Capricorn in order to be made. Okay, so that's our starting point. January, April 2020, we realized something isn't right in my life, hasn't been for years, maybe even decades. I need to make big change to do it, and that change is uncomfortable. Okay, which we spent a lot of time doing. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which happened about 2 years later, April of 2022 now. Okay. And at that time, we had a new moon solar eclipse right about here in the sign of Taurus. Right? New moons are about new beginnings. Solar eclipses are big deals. Here, superpowering a new moon and bringing things to the surface to be dealt with. And it was in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is about fertility. It's about abundance. Here, in a lot of ways, it's about more better and easier situations starting to manifest. So in April of 2022, what I think happened is that we had made enough difficult change to end and get out of things and begin other things in our life that we started to feel like we were getting somewhere. We were getting into a new, different, and better experience that was more fertile, more abundant, more in alignment with ourselves and who we are, and much better for us after that point, which I liked. That then leads me to the next alignment I want to mention, which I think happened just 2 weeks after that, somewhere around April of 2022. At that time, we had a full moon lunar eclipse here over in the sign of Scorpio. And now that was a bit difficult here. It's a bit difficult because sure, full moons can sometimes be a little more challenging than new moons, right? And it was an eclipse, but also because it was on the south node, and the south node to me is a lot more difficult than the north node. The south node to me is a lot more difficult than the north node because it's a lot about releasing things here and letting things go. And so too is a full moon here. That's no longer working for us or no longer useful for us in some kind of way. Not only is the south node difficult because it can indicate needing to let go or release things, but with it can bring a sense of stuckness, the south node, because it's hard to release things that you've been doing for a while. So, So what I think happened 2 weeks after we started to feel like we were a new and better experience is that we started to feel stuck because we had some habits that weren't working for us that we needed to release and let go of. What were those habits here? Well, Scorpio is a lot about being very intertwined with people. It's also a sign about spending money here. And it's also a sign of change, making a lot of changes. And I think those were the habits that were once helpful, right? Around 2020, we needed to get out of stuff, but that are no longer helpful in a new experience of life that we needed to get rid of. And we needed to stop getting too intertwined with people, making big change and spending money so that we could become more North Node Taurus, saving money, stable and secure, confident here in ourselves that is going on, and saving money at that time. Okay, so right after in a new and better experience of life, we then realized we're stuck, can't move forward because we have old habits that aren't helpful anymore. Too intertwined with people, making too many changes, spending too much money that's no longer useful, we need to get rid of for better ones, confidence, security, saving, etc. Okay, I thought that was meant to be at its core a good thing, right? It's always nice to get realizations about what isn't working and what we need to do better. But even though that was a good realization, I really think it took us almost all of last year to really figure that out and get that through our heads, that we needed to stop getting intertwined with people, spending money, and making too many changes here and the way that we need. It wasn't really until the beginning of this year, I want to say around January of 2023, that we finally started to figure that out in a more permanent way. And that was because in January 2023, Mars had finished going retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which of course is a lot about our mindset and our perspective. And because Mercury was finishing its retrograde here in the sign of Capricorn as well, which has to do with our mindset in the same spot that Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all came conjunct in 2020. Okay, so it wasn't really until that January in 2023 timeframe that I think we started to get it. No intertwined with people, not as much spending money, not as much change, slow, stable, and secure. Confident, saving, honoring ourselves. Not only that, but I also think too in January 2023, we started to make more adjustments in our physical environment, because Mercury can be that as well, with relationships and with money here, to end some or begin others that are going to be much better for us too, and to get ourselves in a better position. Okay, and I think that that was helpful, so that in the months after that, somewhere around February and March of this year, 2023, we then started to experience even larger changes in our life, especially as Pluto moved into Aquarius here and Saturn moved into Pisces. And when the slower moving planets, of which both Pluto and Saturn are, change signs, they do tend to bring large chapter changes in our lives to be very different and to have different stories, different themes to work out. Okay, Saturn moving into Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, was about us feeling like we can leave the past behind, or start to leave it behind and formulate different approaches here. And Pluto entering Aquarius was about us feeling more free, with the Aquarius influence to be ourselves. So after we finally got the new approach to life here, slow, stable, secure, saving money, being more confident, we then felt like, and adjusted some things, we then felt like new chapter, new experiences in life, letting old things go, freedom, authenticity, all of that, which I thought was good, especially with the next alignment that I want to mention happening April of this year, 2023. Around April of 2023, we then had a new moon solar eclipse, another one here in the sign of Aries. Okay, Aries is a lot about new beginnings, new energy, fresh starts. So too is a new moon and a solar eclipse here. They're all kind of correlated, especially with Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. So in April of 2023, which is just earlier this year, we started to feel like we're good now. Now that we are in a new experience of life and we've got the right mindset, we're good to go back on this new chapter in life here that we really wanted to get on the road a year prior and to move it forward here in a much better way. And I thought that was supposed to be good, but even though that was good, the month after that, around May of 2023, right after a new moon in Taurus here, I think we then started to run into problems yet again, moving forward on this new and better experience of life we've been trying to get to for a while. What was the problem we ran into then? Well, I think that had a lot to do with Pluto, because Pluto moved back, retrograded back into Capricorn, where it had spent most of the past 15 years here. And Pluto, when it's in a sign, can take that sign to an unhealthy degree. And Capricorn, when unhealthy, ignores the emotions and is all responsibility here. So I think what happened in May of 2023 is that we realized we couldn't move forward again into this better experience of life because we were ignoring our emotions and hadn't reclaimed those and fully healed those and brought those into our experience, especially in a happier and better and more joyful way, with Venus starting to go retrograde or enter its pre-retrograde shadow at that time in Leo, the sign of happiness. Okay, so that's what happened then. And I believe it was around July when Pluto squared the nodes. We then finally figured that out. We then finally made some hard choices here to start to honor our emotions and bring more of that into our life and our experience, and to change some more things in order to align with that, which was very, very good. Okay, helping us to feel more aligned and more together. But even though we did that, another problem nested right under that started to arrive last month, here around the time that Mercury went retrograde in Virgo, which was August sometime of 2023. And what I think happened when Mercury went retrograde in Virgo is that we realized that now we're in a new and better experience of life. Our emotions and our heart is more into it here, but we're still stuck, right? Because when a planet goes retrograde, it means something's not right about that planet and that sign, is that we're still stuck, Virgo, and we're overworking, overthinking, being too critical, too perfectionistic here, which is a remnant of an old chapter in life here that's really stopping us from having more fun, being more at ease and loving life, and now needs to be resolved. Not only did we realize that last month, but at that full moon in Pisces, I think we also realized too that the way to resolve here this overwork and this perfectionism is to do more of the Pisces: rest, relax, be more creative, be more compassionate here in a lot of ways, trust more of our intuition and all of that. And because that's what's happened and what we finally realized at this new moon, finally, of which this video is for, here we're trying to more fully adjust our mindset here, our behaviors, the way we think and communicate, our routines, our habits, the way we work, maybe even our health situations here, to be more restful, more relaxing, to follow more of our intuition here, to be more creative, to be more compassionate here, in order to bring more things together in our lives that we need to move forward. Okay, and that's it. because that's it. And that was a lot here. It's getting to be a mouthful for me, I have to say. I'm just going to repeat that one last time here before we move on. What I think is going on here, the big picture context of this new moon in Virgo, for which this video is for, is that we are finally starting to adopt a new way of thinking, working, communicating, behaving here, and doing things in our life that's more restful, relaxing, compassionate, intuitive, creative here in our lives, so that we can more fully usher ourselves into a new and better chapter and experience, not in fragments, but as a whole person that feels more at ease in our experience here as we move onwards. Okay. Now, before I actually give you some more of those specifics about this new moon in Virgo, I do want to say one more thing, because I'm not sure if it was clear as I was going through the context here. Why here is it important for us to rest and relax more, and to be more creative, and to be more compassionate here, and of course to honor more of our emotions, because when you rest and relax, you honor more of your emotions. Why is that important here? Well, if you listen to the context I just gave you, right, we're going into a new and better experience of life here. And I think that part of going into a new and better experience of life is, of course, honoring your emotions, but is also too feeling more restful and relaxed. How can a new, right, do you see, how can a new experience of life be better if you're still on guard? If you're still on guard, something bad's going to happen. So I have to work, I have to perform. I have to be aware. I have to be aware that there's emergency. You know, I have to be hard on myself and other people are hard on me and too critical. You know, how can you really call that a better experience of life if you're still stuck and stressed and overworked and overwhelmed and things like that, and not resting and relaxing and allowing yourself to do so? You know, I think part of having a better experience of life is being able to work when you need to work, right? But rest when you need to rest, and having that in a better way. So I also want to say that as well, in case that didn't come out earlier. Hey, we need to behave differently, in which we rest, relax, kind, compassionate, because that is going to be part of what makes a better chapter in life better. And if we don't do that, then we're still stuck in the old behaviors here, which is not conducive to the new life and is going to stop it from coming together. Okay. Now what I want to do next, since I think I'm done with that, is to give more specifics about this new moon in Virgo itself and what it's about and what's going on. And to do that, here I'm going to talk about the specific aspects that the new moon itself is making and aspects that are happening around it at the same time. Okay, and to do that, I'm just going to place it here in the chart so you can see it circled. There's the new moon in Virgo. The first alignment that I think I want to talk about here is going to be the trine that this new moon is making over here to Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, so I want to look at that. What is this all about here? Well, trines, I need to note a few things. Trines to me can go either way. They can be either positive or negative. It just does depend to me a lot on the planets that are involved here and what they are and how well they got along. And Pluto can be good in some ways, but I think most of the time does tend to be a bit of a challenge here, especially with it still hanging around at the last degrees of Capricorn and not having really finished up there yet. So I think this is a little bit of a challenging thing here. What perhaps is the challenging thing? Well, Pluto is a lot about permanent change here and transformation. That's really what it desires, an evolution for our growth, for our highest good here, in order for us to move forward. And permanent change and transformation in what way? Well, with the new moon in Virgo, right, to work and think in a different way that is more restful, more relaxing, more compassionate here, and more intuitive, right? And to change with it being in Capricorn, the structure of our life, the direction of it, the traditions. Capricorn has a lot to do about it to allow us to rest and relax and to think and work in this different way. That's what Pluto wants. But when a lot of times when you get Pluto by an aspect that can be considered difficult, what you get is resistance to said change and to said transformation here that's going on here, where maybe we know we need to do that. And maybe even a part of us deep down does want to change. Here we're resisting to it and still not able to permanently and fully embody it in the way that it is that we need here. Okay, what causes the resistance to permanent change and transformation here? A lot of times with Pluto, it is a few things. part of it can just be habit, especially with the new moon in Virgo. Old habits die hard. It's hard to stop doing something that you've been doing for a long time. So, which I think we have been stressing for a long time. So if we've constantly been overworking and overproving ourselves and stressing and not resting and not relaxing, it's really hard to just like all of a sudden just stop, and do things differently. So I think part of the resistance is just habit is hard to wear out. I think another part of the resistance, a lot of times with Pluto too, is fear. There's a fear when it comes to changing your habits and doing something different that you've never done before. It feels unsafe. It can feel uncomfortable here as well. That's going on. And trigger a lot of unresolved trauma. A lot of times that's what Pluto has to do with from the past here as well. That's happening, that can come on. Sometimes with the trine, trines, it can indicate things happening very quickly. In predictive astrology, that can kind of come on kind of suddenly or out of nowhere here and bring a lot of frustration, okay? So that's the first thing I want to say here about this new moon in Virgo, with the aspects in particular, maybe to back up, is that we're trying to adopt a new way of thinking and being and working, and maybe even for some of you dealing with your health, that allows us to rest and relax and be more kind and compassionate and trust our intuition more here. And I think part of us deep down really wants to do it and is trying to do it, trying to make the change to do it, but is still resisting, resting and relaxing, being at ease here with this situation, and is resisting it because we have some old habits that are just hard to get rid of. And there's a lot of fear because it feels uncomfortable. It feels different. It feels the unknown. It's not what we're used to, which is coming on maybe suddenly and unexpectedly and triggering us here. That could be uncomfortable. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, that this new moon is making, and that's going to be a trine now on the other side over here. This new moon in Virgo is making to Uranus here in the sign of Taurus, which of course recently went retrograde a few weeks ago here. What is this about? Now, this to me is also a little bit of a challenging alignment here as well, because again, a trine, like I said, can be a mixed bag. It can go either way. It depends on the planets that are involved, and Uranus is in Taurus here, a sign it just doesn't really care to be in, and therefore doesn't function that well in. Okay, so this to me is also a bit of a challenge here. What is the difficulty? Well, Uranus is also about the sudden and the unexpected, right? As I already kind of mentioned with the trines, the trines, because they can indicate things happening quickly, and predictive astrology can bring things out of nowhere. I thought it was fine and now I'm not. So definitely an air of unexpected things going on here at this new moon. And again, challenges with Uranus being in Taurus, unexpected challenges coming up. What kind of unexpected challenge can this be? Well, definitely an internal battle. Okay, there's definitely an internal struggle going on, definitely an internal struggle going on here with the Pluto too, which can be a bit subconscious and internal here. And in Taurus, when negative, that can bring, Taurus when positive is about confidence. When negative can bring doubting or confidence. So this can bring unexpected doubt, internal doubting of ourselves and our ability to rest and relax and to adjust our mindset and our behaviors on our work to be easier and better. Not only can this bring just unexpectedly us feeling doubtful and insecure about ourselves and our situation internally, but this can also manifest in external ways as well here, especially after the new moon and onwards. And it can manifest externally, especially with money here, because Taurus is a financial sign. So this can also manifest as an unexpected shock financially. That to me does look a bit more difficult here. That could come up at this time. That could also make you doubt your ability to rest and relax and trust your intuition, right? Because it's hard to rest and relax if you're worried about making money and if you're going to be able to afford it here. So it could be that an unexpected expense or an unexpected thing with money that comes up that you don't know how to deal with. That could happen. And if it's not that, it could be something with a relationship here as well. So it could be something unexpected. Even though this is more money related, it could be something with a relationship, especially here with Mars and Libra, where maybe a relationship makes you feel bad for trusting your intuition or for resting and relaxing here as well, or makes you feel like you can't do that, which can also make you doubt your ability to bring all of this stuff together. Not only that, but Uranus can also bring a sense of nervousness and anxiousness and restlessness here as well to the situation. That can also be a bit of a challenge here too, okay? Now, is there a possibility, maybe I'll say this, that some of you could receive unexpected good financial news? Sure, it depends on what aspect a lot of this stuff is making to your chart, but even if this brings unexpected good financial news, for some of you that actually does allow you to rest and relax more, I still think this is shocking in some way of like, oh my, either I got bad financial news or something bad happened with a relationship and now I feel like I can't rest and relax, or I got good news from a person or from money where I can rest and relax, but I'm not used to this. I'm not used to receiving these good things with money, or I'm not used to being able to rest and relax. And there's still this sense of rejecting it or struggling with it here as well. That could go on, or maybe there's just a lot of details to tie up around that. That could also be a bit hard too. So keep that in mind. It can go positive, even though I prefer negative more in this instance. And if it does go positive, there still is like an air of challenge that I think can come with it at the same time. Okay, so what that means now, to back up with these two alignments so far before I add a few more on, is that what's happening at this new moon in Virgo is that we're trying to adjust the way we think and communicate and behave and work to be easier, more restful, relaxing, creative, compassionate, intuitive, and how we deal with our health as well. Here, so that we can more fully usher ourselves into a new and better experience of life. Okay. Which is a very good thing. But even though we're trying to do that, we know we need to do that, we're resisting making the full and complete and permanent changes within ourselves in order for that to occur. Because just old habits die hard, and because of fear around doing things that we've never done before and behaving in this different way, which is making us feel I think really frustrated and stuck and uncomfortable, and maybe triggering us perhaps suddenly and unexpectedly out of nowhere. Not only may it be feeling really comfortable and triggering, but it may also be causing us to doubt ourselves and our abilities to rest and relax ever, and to make it happen, and have us kind of spiral downwards into anxiety and insecurity. Not only that, but on top of the internal struggle, there could also as well be external events that could be shocking, unexpected, and challenging as well, especially with relationships and money, that could also make you doubt your ability to rest and relax and make that possibility seem really challenging, and maybe even for some of you further away than you might like, which is hard. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here with this new moon, is that this new moon in Virgo here is also making an opposition over here to Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Okay, now this to me is also a challenge. Unfortunately, it's also a challenge here because it's an opposition, and opposition is a hard aspect, and because Neptune can also be a challenge here as well. And again, it's a challenge because it's an outer planet. The outer planets are just harder, right? And that's what we've had all aspects to. Pluto's an outer planet, Uranus is an outer planet, Neptune's an outer planet. The outer planets are just harder to deal with because they're further away from where we live here on Earth and occupy a different octave and space. So they're just more difficult for us to understand, as opposed to the personal planets that are closer to us. Okay, so this is another difficult thing. What is the difficult thing? Well, Neptune, especially by hard aspect, when difficult, can bring confusion. Okay, it brings a haze, it conceals things here, especially with it being in Pisces, about how to rest and relax, take it easy, trust our intuition, things like that. And with the new moon in Virgo, about how to adjust our mindset and our routines. Not only could this bring confusion, it can bring more stuckness in a lot of ways, right? Because if you're confused, you don't know what to do. Okay, not only can it bring more confusion, especially with the Mars and Libra, right? Not only can it bring more confusion and more stuckness, but Pisces can also bring nostalgia for the past and reverting backwards, being the last sign in the zodiac into old ways that we're trying to escape, where we're continuing to overwork and overstress and do too much and be too perfectionistic. It can bring falling back into all of that here as well. Not only that, but it can also bring too, right, which can contribute to the confusion and the unexpected events here. Not only that, but Pisces also can skew sadness here. So for those of you who do tend to be more that way, it can skew sadness here in a lot of ways, feeling tearful or just feeling like something's off or something's not right or you're not where you're meant to be. It can also bring definitely feelings of that at this time here as well, and dejection, maybe even to sometimes Neptune, a little bit Saturn can also skew feeling depressed here about your situation as well. That can be a bit of a challenge here at this time. Not only that, I should also note, can bring weird dreams. Neptune by hard aspect here can bring weird dreams for you as well, which may be, of course, your subconscious talking to you about some of these fears that you have about resting and relaxing. That can be hard here at this time. Okay. So what that means now, I guess, to back up here to continue. Bringing it together is that, again, at this new moon in Virgo, we're trying to adopt a new way of thinking and talking and behaving and working that's more restful, relaxing, easier, intuitive, compassionate here. And of course, working with our health that's going on so that we can more fully usher ourselves into a new, different, and better way of life, which is very good. But even though we're trying to do it, we're really struggling and resisting doing it fully and making the full and complete and permanent change that it is that we need to really get there. Okay. And the reason why we're doing that, I think, is because of old habit. We're just stuck in old habits. Old habits die hard in fear around doing things differently than we've done before and making the changes to do that, which is perhaps hard and triggering us, and old fears and insecurities, perhaps suddenly and unexpectedly, that's making us very insecure and doubt our abilities to rest and relax. Not only is that going on internally, but in addition to that, there's also, for some of you, some unexpected challenging events happening externally as well with money and relationships here that is also making it feel difficult for you to rest and relax here as well, or making you doubt your abilities to bring some of that stuff together here too. And because there's both inner turmoil around your ability to rest and relax and inner resistance, and also maybe some sudden and unexpected negative events with relationships and money as well that's going on, I think it's leading to a lot of confusion, stuckness here, not knowing what to do, maybe even sadness here that can be a bit hard, as reverting back into old behaviors of forcing too much, working too hard, stressing, being too perfectionistic here and critical. Yeah, confusion, sadness, and maybe even some weird dreams here that can be a bit hard. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here too, and to just add on to it as well. Right, I understand that this is like forming, a little bit of like a kite, so to speak, but I think this is going to be difficult. And I think another reason why I think this is going to be difficult is because, of two other alignments I want to mention. Okay, one of the other two I want to mention here is that at the same time of this new moon in Virgo, we've got Mercury here still retrograde in the sign of Virgo, coming into over the course of the days after this. I actually don't know if it'll get close, if it'll get exact into an opposition with Saturn, but it is hanging around here in an opposition with Saturn. So this to me is also a little difficult. It's difficult because as long as Mercury is still retrograde, we're still reviewing old things. We still aren't fully having that forward momentum, right? That forward momentum that we need to think clearly, with Mercury being in Virgo, the sign that the new moon is, and the new moon being at the exact degree that that Mercury went retrograde at to begin with. We still don't have that forward momentum that we need and are still feeling stuck and restricted. Okay, so I think that, right, and bringing more confusion and more haze. So I want to add this other alignment on here happening at the same time of this new moon to show you that we're still not fully there yet to fully getting the new perspective that it is that we need, and to making it happen, and are still feeling stuck and restricted and even blocked with the Saturn from fully understanding what the issue is here that's preventing all of this stuff from coming together that it is that we need. Okay, not only do I want to mention that, but maybe one other alignment that I'll add quickly on here too is that around the same time that this is happening, we do have Mars in Libra, a sign it does not like to be in, also coming into an opposition with Chiron here in Aries, which is also very difficult. Mars is about action, and Libra, it can hesitate to do things. The Chiron can bring triggers and insecurities, so we're either not doing anything and feeling bad that we're not doing anything, or we're doing stuff and it's just not working. So I think there's a lot of struggle here around this different way of life that is hard and not quite coming together yet at this time, even though we want it to, and even though we're getting more momentum to do so with the new moon here being in the sign, and with Mercury about to go direct in the days after this. Okay, so I think that's what I want to say there. Maybe I'll repeat that and then I'll give you some of my advice. Okay, what is going on at this new moon in Virgo is that we want to step into a new way of thinking, working, behaving, new habits, new health situations that allow us to rest and relax more, or where we do rest and relax more compassionate, more creative, and trust more and listen to more of our intuition, which is very good. But even though we want to do that, we are feeling stuck and restricted from doing that here, and are unable to fully do that, and are resisting the full and complete change we needed to do that, really because we're stuck in old habits, which are just hard to release. And there's a lot of fear and insecurity around doing things differently, which is maybe coming on suddenly and unexpectedly and making us feel insecure about our abilities to be happier, move into a different experience in some sort of way. Here, that's going on. And on top of this internal struggle that we're having about resting and relaxing, there's also the potential that there could be some negative, sudden, and unexpected external events with relationships and money as well, also making us feel like we can't rest and relax here too. That could be a bit hard. Okay, and make us even more anxious and nervous and just more confused about our situation and our experience, and sad and have weird dreams. And for some of us may want to revert back into old habits and patterns here of overworking, overstressing, overdoing things, being too perfectionistic and critical, which can make us still feel blocked, like we're not ready as we thought we were originally to rest and relax and adopt these behaviors, and still like hesitate or just like act in a bunch of weird ways that aren't super helpful here at this time. Okay, and because that's what's going on, I'm going to give you some advice here now. Okay, the advice that I want to give you about how to handle this is to first of all realize that resting and relaxing, being more creative, compassionate, intuitive is what is meant to happen here, and soon in the near future. Okay, that to me is a definite. Okay, when might we be resting and relaxing here, and what might be the timeline on when that will happen more easily? Well, I think eclipse season is a good bet when that might happen, which is soon, because eclipses tend to force things to the surface to be dealt with here. And not only is eclipse season a good time for that to happen, but probably in particular the full moon lunar eclipse, which will be in the sign of Taurus, because Taurus is a sign that's also about resting and relaxing. Pisces, sure, and also Taurus, they both sextile, so they're both similar in that sense. Okay, so I think, and I should note in this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is about a month and a half away. I think it's about 6 weeks. Okay, so the first piece of advice that I want to give you is to know that resting and relaxing is the ultimate goal here that does need to happen, and I think will happen more naturally and easily at that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus about 6 weeks from now, and to hold the vision, right? I say that so that you can hold the vision of like 6 weeks from now, full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. That's when I'll get more of this together. Not only is that part of the advice that I want to give you here, but I think maybe another part of the advice that I want to give you is, of course, patience. Okay, not only know that resting and relaxing is the thing that needs to happen about 6 weeks from now, full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, but to be patient throughout these 6 weeks, because I do think it's going to take you probably every bit of those to really allow yourself to rest and relax and take it easy and be creative and touch with your intuition, and to have that flow more smoothly here. And I don't think really, rushing that is going to help too much. Hey, not only is that the advice that I want to give you here, but the next piece of advice I want to give you, especially with some of the oppositions going on, we've got the new moon opposite Neptune. Oppositions are a lot about choices here. So I think that the next piece of advice I want to give you is to make smart choices here and trade-offs to get you to that spot you need to be at 6 weeks from now. That's going on to get you to that spot, and to align your actions to get you to a place. So if some of you are right now thinking, okay, I know I need to rest and relax and be more creative and intuitive and compassionate, and that's the goal, but I just am doubting that it's possible right now, here, be patient with yourself and start to make choices in the present today that will help you to eventually get to a point where you can rest and relax here, or where you can take it easier in the ways that it is that you need, which may require you to make like a trade-off now, a little bit, in order to get to where you ultimately want to go. Here, that's going on. Okay, where maybe you do need to take care of some work now so that 6 weeks from now you can rest. You got to start to think that way, and maybe even with the Virgo a little more strategically here about how you can ultimately get to that point that it is that you want to be at here at this time, right? Because the thing that we don't want to do at this new moon in Virgo is get so overwhelmed that we don't factor resting and relaxing at all. And resting and relaxing needs to be a factor. Here, we just need to realize that maybe we won't achieve it right away and need to make decisions towards that. Okay, and I think that's all that I have for you. Yeah, patient, compassion. Yeah, I think that's all I have for you now. Okay, because that's all now I'm going to say in terms of the aspects here. I'm just going to repeat that one last time before I talk about some other things. So let me do that. What I think is going on here at this new moon in Virgo is that we are trying to adopt a new way of thinking and being and working and behaving, and new habits, routines, and health situations that are more restful, more relaxing, easier, more creative, more compassionate, more intuitive here, so that we can more fully usher ourselves into a new, different, better, and happier way of being in life. And that is a very good thing. But even though that's a very good thing, we are struggling, I think, to make the full and complete and permanent changes that it is that we need really in order to do that. And I think we're struggling to make the full, complete, and permanent changes that we need in order to do that, because just old habits die hard. You know, it's hard to stop doing something you've been doing for a while. And also as well, because there's fear around doing new things that you haven't done before here as well, that can come on suddenly and unexpectedly and trigger us here, and not only trigger us, but make us get insecure about our abilities to rest and relax and start to doubt it, which can be a bit of a challenge. On top of this big internal struggle that we're having around resting and relaxing, some of you could also experience negative, unexpected external events as well, with relationships and money too, that also make you feel like it's hard for you to rest and relax if the people don't like it, or if the money is not there. Here, that can also add even more difficulty here to this new moon and make you even more nervous and anxious here, and upset and frustrated, and also bring a sense of confusion now about what to do next and how to make things happen, and sadness, bring weird dreams, and also make a lot of you revert back into old behaviors of working too hard and being too perfectionistic and critical and striving too much. That could be a bit of a challenge here, that could just make us feel stuck and behave in weird ways. Okay, and because that's what's going on this new moon, I want to give you some advice. And I think the advice that I want to give you is to just know and be aware as an end goal that resting, relaxing, being more creative and compassionate is what is meant to happen right now in your life, especially around 6 weeks, I believe, at that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, and to aim for that, okay, as your guiding principle. Okay, not only is that the advice I want to give you, but to also be patient with yourself while that happens, because I think it's probably going to take us every bit of those 6 weeks or so to fully get to a more restful and relaxing place that it is that we need. Okay, and not only is that the advice, but the last piece of advice I want to give you is because that's the end goal, and it's going to take us time to start now to make smart and strategic decisions here, so that 6 weeks from now you can rest and relax more, and you can be more at ease here with that situation, instead of fall further behind here that's going on. Okay, and that's it. Okay, that's it. Anything else that I want to add? You know, I think from what I understand about the full moon in Aries, which is coming up next 2 weeks from now, I still don't think we're going to have figured this out. Because again, I'm telling you, right, it's going to take us till the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus 6 weeks from now. So I think probably what's going to happen at the full moon in Aries is that we still haven't figured this out and we're more angry about it. But so keep that in mind, that might be what we're going to talk about 2 weeks from now. Any other thoughts that I want to add? Yeah, another thing that I want to add is that the resting, relaxing, being more intuitive, compassionate, and creative applies to a lot of areas here. You know, it requires, especially with the Virgo does have to do with our mindset, which applies to almost everything, and also our daily life, which also applies to a lot of things. So also keep that in mind, even though it may be different for each of you. So for some of you, the issue here is you're working too much at your job, right? Or you're working too hard to make money, and you need to do it in an easier way, and you need to have a better work-life balance so you can rest and relax more. You know, for others of you, you know, maybe this is a health situation, right? You're doing too many things to fix your health when you need to simplify and just rest and relax and just trust your intuition more instead of what doctors are saying, you know. So they can play a lot of different ways. Maybe this is a home situation. Some of you want to move home or trying to figure out something with family. Here, maybe you're pushing a little too hard. You need to rest and relax and trust your intuition and let it happen more naturally, you know. So I think that's another thing that I want to say here. is that this can play out in a lot of different ways here at this time, right? Or maybe another example, because sometimes the examples help. Maybe this is a romantic relationship. Maybe some of you are in a romantic relationship here and it's just requiring too, right? It's just too much. It's the other person's being too critical, too much effort, things like that, you know, that you're going to have to trust your intuition, or maybe that relationship's not right for you, or maybe you're stressing about the direction of the relationship and where it's going, you know, and you're going to have to relax a little bit more. So it can play out here in a few different ways, and to apply it to your situation, and of course to trust your intuition on how it applies to you. Okay. That's going on. Another thought that I want to add here too at the end as well is that I'm using the words rest and relax a lot. And I've also used words be creative, compassionate, intuitive. They all apply. Okay. What usually happens in my horoscopes is that I usually focus on one or two words over all of them here. And that's just a matter of practicality. It's easier for me to just focus on one or two words that I feel like more people understand than all of them. But keep in mind that they all apply. Here, we need to rest and relax, be more creative, more compassionate, and more intuitive. Here, even though I may focus on one or two, and to choose the one that makes the most sense for you, right? So some of you may be like, I feel like I'm good on resting and relaxing. Okay, well, maybe you're not so good on following your intuition, or maybe you're not so good on being kind to yourself or kind to other people, right? So even though I may not focus on the one that you need the most here, I think there's a need to think critically about your situation and what might apply to you the most here out of all these themes, because of course there's a lot of people here with a lot of different experiences that this can affect. Okay, other things that I want to note is that those themes, rest, relax, be more creative, more compassionate, and more intuitive here, are definite themes that you need to determine which one works for you. But I also wanted to note there's a few other themes that I feel like are auxiliary that are also indicated in here as well, which to me are more Taurus themes, because we had a full moon in Pisces 2 weeks ago, Saturn's now in Pisces, and of course Jupiter and Uranus just went retrograde in Taurus, which is also having a moment, and we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse there. And while Taurus to me is also very restful and relaxing and similar to Pisces, because Taurus is Venus ruled, it also has to do with other things that I just wanted to emphasize as well. Taurus is a lot about simplifying our situation here, instead of making it complicated, simplifying and just focusing on the basics and the necessities here. Not only that, but Taurus also has to do with being more confident in yourself and in your situation, and using what you have, not going out and doing new things, and not learning more things, and not getting new stuff. No, Taurus says you have enough at your disposal if you just used it right. So I also want to note that as well, that even though in this horoscope I've said a lot about needing to rest, relax, be more creative, more intuitive, more compassionate, which all apply, there are other auxiliary themes which I didn't explicitly state but are intertwined in all of that I also think some of you might need to focus on and hear and do more of, which is to simplify your situation, to use what you have and stop doing new stuff and getting more things and learning more things. You don't need that, okay? And to be more confident with yourself here too, and to use those if those apply as well. So to also keep that in mind. Some of you are getting a new way of thinking, to put it in another way, in a new way of working here, where you're using more of what you have currently instead of getting new stuff, and being more confident in it, and in simplifying those things here that's going on, and to use that if that is more relevant for you as well, because I think it also still applies. Okay, it's just hard when you're communicating to get every single theme out there all at once. Okay. And I think that's all I'm going to say now in terms of the extra points here that I want to note. Because of that, I'm just going to take a brief look here at your inside degree. Now, the inside degrees were not written by me. They were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from Spirit, but I just really like his work and find it very relevant or insightful a lot of times. So I like to look at that. I think the one that I want to look at most, I did like 20 degrees for being relevant, but I think the one that I just want to look at is 21 degrees for the time being, because that is, of course, the degree of this new moon in Virgo. So I've got that up on the screen. And again, this is also the degree that Mercury went retrograde, started to go retrograde as well a few weeks ago. So keep this in mind, very important, something we're trying to work out. Okay, what does this degree say? It says, so much to be done, so many fragments to move with, such a confounding. The one inside is calm and quiet, poised and accepting, knows what shall be. The one outside is frantic with events and experiences which do not add up. Okay, what does this mean to me? Okay, what this means to me now, I guess to put it in my own understanding, is that what may be going on at this new moon in Virgo, right, is that a lot of you may feel like you have a lot of things to do, right? I can't rest and relax. I can't rest and relax. I have so much to be done. So much work to do, you know, to provide for myself, to provide for other people, to make my life function smoothly. You know, is that a lot of you may feel like you have a lot of work to do, which is making you feel very confused about how you can rest and relax, even though a part of you deep down may know that that's what needs to happen, or that's what you really desire to happen here at this time. Okay. Let's move on. It says severe conditions to test the soul and give the mind quite a scare. Okay. So this to me is also difficult, right? Does this sound easy for you? I understand that this new moon is in a little bit of what's considered like a kite configuration, which is technically helpful, but it's Pluto and Uranus involved. And Neptune and Mars opposite Chiron, you know, and like, look at this degree. It's like, I just think that there is some difficulty here, right? And Mercury's still retrograde. You know, I think that there is some difficulty here about how exactly we can rest and relax when we have so many things to do and when there's just a lot going on in life that just needs to be taken care of. Here, that's happening. Okay, giving us quite the scare, making us doubtful. Okay, the process, let's read on. It says the process is to keep going into it a little further, despite yourself, and to keep losing who you thought you were in the bargain. But there is somebody to be when there is nobody left to be, and only then. Another thought that this gives me too, right? So what does this mean? Maybe let me back up. So what this means here with this inside degree so far is that we know we need to rest and relax, or we want to, a part of us desires it, but we're confused about how to do it when life is busy and we need to do things in order to pay bills and, you know, have life function smoothly, right? And we're confused. And I think this is saying that part of the way to resolve this confusion here is to go deeper into it and to not see it as an impossible conundrum. Well, can't do it. I want to rest and relax, but can't do it because, well, life is this and life is that. You know, I think there's a need to realize that it's not black and white. And it's not an impossible conundrum and decision, in that there is a way out, or there is a way to work them together in the way that you need, and to like keep wrestling with it, right? The process is to keep going into it, to keep kind of wrestling with like work, rest, work. How do I work? How do I rest? You know, because through that struggle of like trying to figure it out and not, and trying to figure out and falling backwards, you know, there can be some kind of insight that it is that you might get here that's going on. So I think that's another thought that I get here. We know we need to rest and relax, or at least we want to, but we find it hard because life, we're confused. I understand that. But it's not an impossible thing to figure out. There is a way through it here. You just have to keep trying to put the pieces together, you know? Like, it reminds me, I just got an image of like a Rubik's Cube or a puzzle, you know, or where you've got this Rubik's, maybe I should start with the Rubik's Cube, right? Where you've got all these colors on the cube and you're supposed to rearrange the Rubik's Cube to get all the colors right. And there's times when you're dealing with the Rubik's Cube where you're like, I'm never going to figure this out. It's impossible. You know, it's impossible to get all the colors to align, and it feels impossible, but there is a way to do it. You just have to keep at it. You know, you just have to keep at it. So I think that's the image here. There is a way to allow yourself to rest and relax more in your life. Here with everything you've got going on, you just have to keep trying to put the puzzle together, especially with the Virgo, right? The Virgo will keep trying to figure these things out here, and to not lose hope and to not devolve into hopelessness that it can never happen, because it can, and it will, and there is a way. You just have to find it. You know, you just have to find the way that works for you. Hey, another thought that I have from this last sentence here as well is something about surrender, right? Because there's a thought of you just have to keep losing who you thought you were here. And so I think another thought that I get from that, especially with the Neptune and Pisces, is surrender and trust. You know, there's a need to just surrender and trust that you will figure it out here, and you will be okay. And that even if there is a challenging situation coming up for some of you with relationships and money here, that you will be able to figure it out or work around it or come up with some kind of solution in the near future to bring everything together that it is that you need here. So I think there's that. Another thought that I have here too from this, in this last sentence, is it says, keep losing who you thought you were in the bargain. And another thing that it makes me realize too is that part of the reason why we're feeling like resting and relaxing is impossible and we have all this work to do and all this stuff that's going on is because an old part of ourselves, right? Who we thought we were, our ego. Maybe that's part of it. You know, our ego is just who we think we are and have always been, you know, is that your ego may be in the way of you getting the answer that you need. So part of the reason why you're like, I want to rest and relax, but oh, can't, life's too busy, forget about it, you know, is because you may still be identifying with an old way of being, an old way of behaving, old way society thought work life should be here as well. That's throwing you back into those. And that once you dismantle more of that old identity or old ego, which I think Venus, you know, now direct in Leo will help us to do, that it'll be easier for you to find the answers that you need. So that's another thought there. We know we need to rest and relax, or at least we want to, but we're finding it hard because life making us feel like it's an impossible conundrum that we're never going to figure out. It's not. There is a way. There is a way to rest and relax with all the work you have to do. You just got to keep at it and keep trying to put the pieces together and figure it out and figure out what needs to be done and get things together and just trust and have faith that as long as you keep trying to figure it out and do the best you can and make the best decisions, that it's going to work out. Okay. And what might help you, do you see, to figure this stuff out better is for you to release an old identity or ego or old way you thought you were and how life should be, because the more that you release that, I think it's going to be easier for you to see some of this other stuff about how you can work this stuff together that you need. Okay. Right? Because some of the stuff that you all think you need to do to keep life going, you really don't need to do. It's just busy work. It's just keeping you busy and stressed. So, but some of you can't see it because that's what you've been doing, you know, or what the world's been telling you should do for so long. So keep that in mind there as well. And I think that's all I'm going to say. The only degree I'm going to look at here, you of course can look on your own. 20 degrees I actually really liked here, so you can pause and look at that, and 22 degrees as well. You can pause the screen and read those if you would like to do that and form your own opinions. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull your card. So let me do that. Your card here is the King of Wands upright. And at the bottom of the deck, well, we've got the Two of Cups upright. Actually, these are both very good cards here. You know, I think the first thing I thought of when I saw the Two of Cups is delegation. And it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense with the King of Wands because I sometimes see kings as they delegate too, right? The king is the master of the kingdom. He doesn't do it. He just gets everyone else to do it, you know, and all these people he's got working for them. And Mars is in Libra here, which in Libra is a sign of relationships. And we are coming up to a new moon solar eclipse in Libra as well, right? Eclipses are a big deal. Libra's in relationships. So I think a thought that I'm having here as advice is that maybe part of what's going on with some of you is that you're trying to do everything yourself, and that's keeping you in overwork and overstress when you need to share the burden, you know, or ask other people to help you here in some sort of way. Because it's easier for two people sometimes to do one thing than one person, you know, or it's easier for 3 or 4 people to do things than one person, you know, so to take the load off of everybody. So I think that that's another thought here. Some of you need to delegate some of the work that you're doing to other people who can do it better or can do it easier, or spread more of the tasks to just more people to take the stress off of each one person here in particular. That's going on. Okay, some of you need to do that and take on more of a supervisory role instead of a hands-on role in a lot of things, because some of you are trying to do too much yourself. Not only that, but I'm also getting a sense that maybe some of you are micromanaging a little bit. So another thought that I have for some of you is either you need to reach out for help and other people and delegate and get more people to help you and feedback on things like that But another thought that I have is maybe some of you are micromanaging and you're trying to take on too much control over the situation, and you need to let go of control or trust the people that you're working with more. So some of you, and maybe this is a very specific message for some of you, but some of you are in the right, have enough people. You have enough people that you're working with. You have the right people with you, but you're just not trusting them enough to help you do the things you want to be doing, and are micromanaging and therefore making things harder for everybody. So I'm getting another sense. Some of you need to stop micromanaging and trust that everyone knows what they're doing, that's helping you, and to take a step back in a more supervisory role here. Okay. Another thought that I have here as well is that if some of you, about the relationships, it's hard to not talk about relationships when you get this card here, right before a new moon in Libra, I suppose, solar eclipse there, is that some of you are delegating and you do have people in your life, but maybe some of you have the wrong people that you're delegating to here, or the wrong people in the wrong positions, or just the wrong people in your life, period. So another thought that I have as well is that if some of you are trying to delegate to people, but it's just not working here, then maybe some of you are delegating the wrong tasks to the wrong people, and you need to get that straight here, or get them in the right positions, or maybe some of you just need to get rid of some people and get new people in there that are a better fit for you and your talent and what you desire in life here in order to bring that together. Okay. Another thing that I want to say as well, if this isn't a card about relationships, sometimes if we don't want to interpret the Two of Cups about relationships, sometimes I'll interpret this as like alignment with your emotions here. And the King of Wands, I'm getting a sense of, right, kings can be managers or visionaries, like take a step back. I'm getting a sense, what may also help some of you is starting now to envision a life, and maybe that goes back to some of the advice I gave you earlier, is envision a life in which you can rest and can relax, in which things are easier and in alignment with your emotions, because you just envisioning that, and maybe some of you need to write and journal, of like, what would my life look like if it was easier? Sometimes just envisioning that can help you easily create it, or feel like it's more accessible, or keep more of the hope alive and get some of your thoughts out on paper in order to work some things together. So that's another thought. Some of you need to spend time just envisioning or dreaming what it would look like if, in a world if, you could rest and relax, because that may also help you here too with this situation. Okay. Another thought that I want to note too, right, is like fewer steps, because I'm just the King of Wands here. He's like smiling, and the king doesn't, a lot of times, right, I keep coming back to the idea, he doesn't really do things himself. He gets other people to do it, but that makes it simple, right? It's like he has the right people in the right place. So he's like, it's easy, I'll just get this person to do it. So another thought that I have for some of you too is that if you are trying to rest and relax and it seems impossible and you're envisioning a future, but it still doesn't come together, then again, back to the simplification. Some of you have too many steps. You're overcomplicating the matter. You need to cut out some steps, cut out something in the way here that's going on as well, because even that can help. Maybe there's still something that you need to let go of so that you can rest and relax here as well. That's happening. Okay. And maybe that's the unexpected thing happening for some of you at this new moon in Virgo. You're leaving a job so that you can rest and relax, losing money, not sure how you're going to do it, having to make decisions. So, there could be some things like that here as well. But some of you may also need to do that, or maybe it's a matter of both. You need to cut out the middleman in one area and then get the right person to help you in another area, but something like that here that I'm getting. Any other thoughts here? Wands are about passion and excitement for life. So I think there's also a need to cultivate more passion and more excitement for life as well, even though that may not come till the full moon in Aries. This reminds me of the Aries and after here as well. So I think that's what I'm going to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that you all do the best you can here at this new moon in Virgo, and I will talk to you on the next video.